One thing you need to be especially aware of is traffic signs hidden by obstacles. In this case, I'm approaching an intersection, so there'll be either stops or traffic lights. But my view is blocked on both sides by this school bus on the left and this construction light on the right. So I need to be aware that as soon as I pass those blocking points, I scan for some traffic signs. In this case, it's a traffic light, and it turned yellow just as I was approaching. In this case, the truck parked to my right is hiding the stop sign. So I look for a stop line on the asphalt and a stop panel from behind on the other side. The problems here are that there's no stop line and the stop sign on the other side is on a big wooden post, so it's less visible than if it was on a normal stop post. Most of the time, experienced drivers who tend to look further and wider will have seen the stop from far when approaching. With beginners, however, that is rarely the case and they almost run it, which can be very dangerous, especially if the vehicles coming in the other axis don't have a stop. In this case, there are big vehicles on both sides, but at least there's a stop line, so I know there's a stop there. Now these are situations where visibility is reduced temporarily. In places where the visibility of traffic signs is reduced permanently, you can sometimes see panels like this one, indicating, in this case, that we're approaching a stop sign. In this situation, the stop sign is hidden by the bus shelter. You'll see this panel frequently when stop signs are hidden by vegetation, like bushes or trees. Sometimes you might see these panels in situations where you can see the stop sign clearly, so you might wonder why it's there. In this case, the panel is visible now, but when the tree's branches grow longer, its visibility is reduced. However, there are a lot of situations where stops are hidden and there are no panels warning us of it. And that tends to happen a lot in residential areas because there's usually more vegetation. So again, be aware of that when approaching an intersection with lots of vegetation that could be hiding signs. Here's another example where I see the stop at the last moment. Now notice that in this case, I'm approaching an intersection where the street I'm on doesn't continue straight. So here's a tip. When you're approaching an intersection where the street you're on doesn't continue straight, you always have a stop. The vehicles coming on the perpendicular axis might not have one, but you do. They might have a stop too, but if there is a stop on only one axis, it'll be on the axis of the vehicle that cannot continue straight. Now there might be a few exceptions to this, but I've never seen any in the hundreds, maybe thousands of these situations I've encountered. This is not to be confused with streets that you can't go straight because it's a curve. I'm talking about streets that you can't go straight at an intersection. Although there are situations where there are stops and curves. I'll discuss that in the next series of videos. In this situation, the stop is hidden both by a bush and the curve itself. But as I'm approaching, I can already see from here that it's an intersection, so there will be a stop for me. Besides parked vehicles blocking our view, it can also be double parked vehicles, especially the larger ones. Whenever passing them, slow down as much as necessary and keep your foot over the brake. Move to the opposite side as much as possible and look under the vehicle to see if there's anybody approaching. In this case, I can't see under this bulldozer, but I have a lot of room to my left, so I use it. This next truck, I don't have as much room to distance myself, but I look under it. Here I can use the width of the median to give myself some room to the left. Here I'm turning right and the van is blocking my view, so I look as far to the right as possible before passing it. When following big vehicles, I keep more distance than I would from a normal sized vehicle so that I can see better what's happening in front. Here this van is turning left, so before I turn into the intersection too much, I wait to see if somebody behind it is going straight, and so on. Same goes for priority lights when turning left. In this case there's this truck hiding it, so I make sure that I see the light before engaging into the intersection. And something else that blocks your view is parts of your vehicle itself. The main ones are the parts between the windshield and the front side windows, the ones between the front and rear windows and also the headrests, and the ones between the big rear window and the rear side windows. When turning, if you're not sure if you see well, move your body from side to side, simple as that. We don't need to do this very often, but it might be helpful in busy intersections or at night when visibility is reduced. Now I always recommend to look mostly behind with your head turned when reversing in order to have a wider angle of view. However, in vehicles with bigger frames, you can use the mirrors a bit more, alternating between checking your mirrors and looking back. Also when checking your blind spots, especially the one to the left where the angle of view is narrower, you can tilt your body forward and to the right a bit in order to see better. When parking, you can also consider the hood as a view blocker since it prevents you from seeing how close you are to the vehicle in front. I'll make a video soon on judging distances when parking since you've been requesting it a lot. Also, if you use a GPS or your smartphone as a GPS, try to position them in a place where it doesn't block your view. Avoid hanging big things from your central mirror too. That'll block your view, especially when turning right. You'd be surprised the things I've seen people hanging there. And even worse, people stuffing their vehicle when moving, to the point that the only thing they see is what's in their windshield. How will this guy ever be able to change lanes? And finally, try not to wear clothes that block your view, like hoodies for example, which can be especially bad when checking your blind spots. One thing you can wear though and that can impact vision in a good way: sunglasses. Always have a pair of them in your vehicle. They help a lot when driving in sunny conditions in general, but one situation where they make a huge difference is when the sun is shining on wet asphalt. And as a bonus, you'll look a lot cooler when driving. The next series will be on stops, so stay tuned and see you soon.